It's supposed to be one of life's indulgences, a rare treat, a bit of extra comfort, and service justifies the hefty bill that sometimes goes with it.
But an investigation by the BBC's Rip Off Britain Holidays programme found that a room in one luxury hotel was teeming with hidden bacteria, while a two-star option was almost spotless. Let's have a look.
It was the last set of samples Margarita received from us, and they definitely stood out, but not in a good way.
The last hotel, from all the hotels that we sampled, is the dirtiest across the board.
Almost all the samples here had either high or very high levels of bacteria. Two of them in particular, with the first a spot no guest is likely to be able to avoid.
The bathroom door handle, the levels are pretty high, and it stands out.
Door handles are a very important place to clean. As you leave the toilet, the handle is the area everybody has touched, and not everybody's hand washing technique is robust, and therefore the chances of contamination on the handle are high.
Yeah, we probably should have said, if you're eating your breakfast, maybe just don't for next couple of minutes.
Yeah.
One of the presenters of that programme is Angela Rippon, who joins us now from London, and Liz Smith-Mills is from the British Institute of Cleaning Science.
Morning.
Angela Rippon, morning to you.
Morning,
we're
Louise.
all sort of grimacing as we're watching that. Were you a bit horrified by what you found?
Oh, I think the whole team were. I mean, when we sent all of our findings to Dr. Margarita, she's a clinical microbiologist, and I think some of our regular viewers will remember that she caused quite a stir when we did a similar test looking for bacteria in fast food outlets. Well, I tell you, she's going to cause a stir this time when the film comes up at 9:15, immediately after you guys at there on BBC One, because you just saw some of the findings that we came up with. Now, we looked at a whole range of hotels from 5-star down to 2-star, anything from £35 a night to £140 a night. And as you were saying, you expect very high levels of cleanliness in your 5-star hotel. Now, we're not saying that all 5-star hotels do not have high levels of cleanliness and that all 2-star hotels are paragons of virtue. But what we discovered in our tests, I think, really will make people sit up and think. In the 5-star hotel, as you mentioned, off the scale were the material that we found on the bed covers, on the door handles, and on the television remote control. In the 4-star hotels, similarly, we found really high levels on door handles and the remote control. And in the 3-star hotel, this is really worrying, because one of the areas that we looked at were those little, glass tumblers that you get in the bathroom, and there they were so far off the scale we just could not record them. One of the light switches had so much bacteria on it that the petri dish was actually foaming. So I think that it's a wake-up call for all people who are going to be guests in hotels, whatever the star rating they've got, that you have to be aware that perhaps, sometimes we see those housekeeping trolleys out in the corridors, and we see that they go in and they change the sheets, they change the towels, they change the pillow slips. But in some hotels, I think the staff are under such pressure to get as many rooms done as possible that they go in and they change the obvious things like the sheets and the towels. But they go around then with the vacuum cleaner and a lick over with a damp cloth, and that's it. But as our tests show, there are so many areas where there could be bacteria that we are going to pick up, and particularly off the remote control. I mean, when you think about it, every one of us that goes into a hotel, we pick up the remote control, we switch on the radio or the television or whatever, and who knows, someone who's been there using that remote control before, you may have had a terrible cold or whatever, the bacteria are still there. It's really quite creepy when you think about it.
Don't change channels is the answer. Stay where you are.
Let's bring Liz on this, because Angela was talking about those who clean the rooms, but there's certain things that you can do yourself, including sort of covering over your toothbrush to stop bacteria getting on there. There's the normal hand sanitizers which lots of people use. Taking your own flannel with you, and some people, Liz, even you've heard that they take their own BBC branded surface cleaner in and clean the rooms themselves to make sure they can get rid of some of that bacteria.
Yeah, that's correct, but that's only in extreme circumstances. I mean, the majority of hotel rooms are spotlessly clean, And I think that Angela's obviously picked up on the fact that if proper practices aren't adhered to, then there will be a shortfall in standards that are expected. And obviously I'm representing the British Institute of Cleaning Science, but I work together with the UK Housekeepers Association and the Institute of Hospitality to ensure that training is carried out and that the standards are adhered to. So for example, colour coding, so that prevents cross-contamination, so that they're not using the same cleaning cloth on the toilet that they're then sanitising the glasses with, and to make sure that correct cleaning practices are actually adhered to.
Oh gosh, so it's all just getting worse really. The top tip seems to be the bed covers bad, possibly, and also anything that you're going to drink out, clean yourself?
Has to be sanitised, and best practice is actually to make sure that the sink is actually thoroughly cleaned first, or they're actually taken to a dishwasher and put through a glass washer.
Well, you can't do that if you're just staying in the hotel. Andy, you talked, didn't you, about wake up for all of us going to hotels, but what about hotels? I mean, surely they should be doing something about this.
Well, I think that this is actually a huge wake-up call for some hotels, perhaps some of the larger chains particularly, because the fact that the bedspreads have got such a very high bacterial count on them suggests that there's no sort of routine within the hotel management to say every 3 months or 6 months or whatever, perhaps even less than that. Those bed covers should be either dry cleaned or put in a very high level wash, because, as I say, on the trolleys you see that the cleaning staff are taking the sheets and the towels and those sort of things, but they're not carrying bedspreads. And that in just about every case, except in our 2-star hotel, in just about every case, the bed covers had absolutely off the scale results.
Okay.
So it is a wake-up call for hotel management as well, I think. But I totally endorse what your expert in the studio says. I have to admit that from now on, and indeed over the last couple of weeks when I've been travelling and working, I've been taking those little bottles of hand sanitizers with me that we normally take to third world countries, and I've been using them all the time.
Okay. Oh, Angela Rippon, thank you. So many lovely thoughts. Liz Smith-Mills, thank you. You're going to hold on to that, Dan?
I think I'm going to go and get a spacesuit, I think, from now on. Rip off.